Okay, so in the last video we talked about kind of this typical year so in this video we're going to be talking about well, why what we've talked about so far is not quite enough. So far we talked about the long run aggregate supply and the aggregate demand, but that's not quite enough for us to show what really happens in the economy. So we're going to have to add something called the short run aggregate supply. And so in this video, I'm going to talk just briefly about why this is necessary, and then I'm going to show how the short run aggregate supply is different from the long run aggregate supply. Okay, so why is it necessary? So let's look at what we've done so far. So far, we've done something that looks a lot like this. Let's just look at a typical year. And so we have a long run aggregate supply, and that determines that's the potential GDP. That's the ability to produce. And then we have aggregate demand. Okay, so if this was all we had, then would be our expectation. So let's say in this year, our aggregate demand was like this. Well, then we're going to produce here. We're going to be at this point A, right? We're going to be at A. And let's suppose instead, so we're not talking about a shift. We're just talking about, well, alternatively, what if in this year aggregate demand had been higher, but the same year? So aggregate long run aggregate supply is the same. But what if it was like higher? Okay, so this is like, we can call this one like A and this one B. So alternatively, aggregate demand just happened to be higher that year. Well, what we have so far, then we would conclude, well, we'd end up at A, right? So our model so far, well, in the long run, the real GDP is determined by real factors affecting productivity. Okay, this was labor, capital, human capital, natural resources, and tech. Okay, and in the long run, if the AD grows faster than the ability to produce, prices go up. Okay, so in the long run, increase in AD more than our ability to produce, which is long run supply, then we get an increase in the overall price level. Okay, this is basically true in the long run. Okay, but we find there's something wrong with this, and what's wrong with this is that it seems like in the real world, if aggregate demand was to go from A to B or from B to A, that the output level might change. So it seems like the price level might matter for supply as well or it seems like it does matter for supply as well in the short run. So for the supply, we're going to have two supplies. We have this long run ability to produce, but then we're also going to have a different curve, which shows in the short run why the firms might choose as an aggregate, might end up producing more or less than this potential in the short run. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and look at right now. Okay? So we're going to end up with this, and so we're going to spend a few videos looking at this. Okay, we got our long run aggregate supply, but we're going to find that there is a short run aggregate supply. I'm going to leave off aggregate demand for now. We have a short run aggregate supply, which is not the same as the long run aggregate supply. Okay, so it's possible in the short run that we produce more, right? So it's possible to go above potential GDP. They produce like crazy, right? Over time. So this is over time, right? Less maintenance. You do less maintenance, so you don't have to shut down as often. Less cleaning of your materials, of your machines, etc. And then this one over here, it's possible to go below your potential GDP. So your unemployment rate is greater than the natural rate. You got cyclical unemployment, and we got unused capital. So we have machines and factories and businesses that are sitting idle. We got a lot of unused capital. And again, let me write over here. Then here our U rate would be less than the natural rate. So super low unemployment. If your natural rate is say like 4 or 5%, your unemployment rate could be like 3% over here. Okay, so we actually find both of these things happen in the real world, and we want to see well why do they happen? Okay, so that's what we're going to come back to. What we can come back to then is we're going to look at the short run aggregate supply. We're going to look at, well, why is it upward sloping in the short run instead of being vertical like the long run? and then in that case, there'll just be one aggregate supply. And then the second thing, we'll come back and talk about what will make it shift. Okay, so look for those in the next videos.